somewhere in space. This may all be happening right now. 20th Century Fox and George Lucas, the man who brought you American Graffiti, now bring you an adventure unlike anything on your planet. Star Wars.
Here they come. Coming in too fast!
The story of a boy, a girl, and a universe. It's a big, sprawling space saga of rebellion and romance. It's a spectacle, light years ahead of its time.
I am C-3PO, human cyborg relations, and this is my counterpart, R2-D2.
Hello. No sauces, no sauces!
It's an epic of heroes.
Good luck.
And villains. And aliens from 1,000 worlds. Star Wars, 1 billion years in the making, and it's coming to your galaxy this summer.
Splash, bub. Da 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 da. Bub bub da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Boo 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 boo. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Hello, welcome to Movie Uppers. My name is Bob Shim.
I'm Angela.
And the sounds here may be dogs. This is just, I did some weed eating. That's why I'm dressed like this if you're watching at home. And our scrolls, yeah, we do scrolls for every episode. When you hear our acapella version, that means there's a scroll plan that we do for each episode. But I can imagine if you're only listening on podcast, that's definitely the most annoying part of every episode this month is our acapella theme of the Star Wars. Where I just say duh, 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 over and over again. Welcome to Movie Uppers. The sounds you hear may be dogs. Did I say my name?
You did. They could also be Jawas.
Maybe I should have showered first. I am itchy and grass, but it doesn't matter.
We can be quick.
I want to knock out. Yeah, we all know this story, right?
Listen,
we're finally
if you don't
there.
Know this story.
We're finally there. The 1977 Star Wars, and you'll notice on how the movies are labeled. I label them how they are originally presented in the studio. Mm-hmm. So, like, the prequels all have the episode 1, blah, blah, blah. But the original trilogy was just Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back. That's how I'm labeling them. The new trilogy, the latest trilogy, but yeah, they're like Star Wars, and then just the title. So that's why I'm not doing like episode this and that on every one. I'm going by how they were titled when they were theatrically released. If I can make them do anything, it would be like the original, where only the first one is Star Wars, and then every other one has that other title to it, title only. But you're trying to push a brand here. You're trying to shove a franchise down everyone's throat ad nauseum. So the studios definitely want it like just reiterated over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. But Star Wars, and we know what influenced everything other than the original trilogy. But what influenced the original trilogy? Apparently George Lucas wanted to make a Buck Rogers movie. It didn't work out. Can you imagine if they let him make Buck Rogers? We might not have gotten Star Wars.
That's true.
So he scripted up something, there's a few outlines out there. There's actually a comic book series that shows based upon the original draft of what he wanted Star Wars to be, and it's very different. And I remember reading that, I was like, yeah, this is a fucking rough draft. Like, this never should have existed. Like, there's a reason we shouldn't trot out every corner of a galaxy far, far away.
But for some reason, the fandom thinks we should.
The fandom will swallow it up if they give it to them. So the thing that inspires Star Wars, and Lucas has, where Lucas went later in his career and how he thought about it, and the phenomenon that became Star Wars probably definitely changed the outlook and the representation down the road. But George Lucas was essentially, and he has said this in interviews over and over again, that much like how I saw Avatar, this movie is about anti-imperialism, and the biggest things at the time were, this is just after the Vietnam War, and he will say in interviews that
He did something very interesting with Star Wars, if you think about it. The good guys are the rebels. They're using asymmetric warfare against a highly organized empire. I think we call those guys terrorists today. We call them Mujahideen, we call them Al-Qaeda.
When I did it, they were Viet Cong.
Exactly. So were you thinking of that at the time?
that it's not up for debate. He literally will say that. He kind of maybe thinks about the wholeness of it in a different way. But when he was making this movie, and it is an innovative venture here that
Absolutely.
he did. Like, there are, to look back in the 1977-ness of it all, the movie is very impressive. And we didn't watch the over CGI'd remakes. But, you know, to say that we watched the originals is a little bit, not true, because the original, before it even went on to VHS, sound was shifted. There was some things were cleaned up a little bit. They were always kind of poking and prodding at this after the fact.
Sure.
So the reality is that what you saw, if the original is what you saw in the theater, then no one ever saw that exact one. The sound is slightly different.
Oh,
The
so
effects
crazy.
are slightly cleaned up.
Yeah.
George has always been like wanting to polish this thing over and over again. He just over polished it when he did all the CGI shit and changed songs and like certain character moments around and injected shit we didn't see. But Star Wars, 1977, directed by George Lucas. Written by George Lucas, starring Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Alec Guinness, and Peter Cushing. It cost $11 million in 1977
Ooh.
money. It made $775 million in 1977. Adjust for inflation, that's $1 billion movie.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was huge. And when we're sitting here watching this movie, that we've seen a lot, but we haven't seen it ourselves in a bit. But we have, growing up, we probably watched this 20 plus times, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there watching it, I was like, as far as like the inter-character interactions, particularly between Han and Leia, and even like, I expected to rag on C-3PO a lot more as well. I actually don't mind him at all. But the character interactions, there's a lot of charisma in the original trilogy. But there's still that weird dryness that we commented on in the prequels. A young Luke Skywalker who, when we meet, is the first thing that comes out of his mouth is like bitching about
He's
shit.
whiny.
He's the worst.
Luke! Take these two over to the garage, will you? I want them cleaned up before dinner.
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
You can waste time with your friends when your chores are done.
I didn't remember him being that bad.
No wonder everyone wanted to be Han Solo, all the
Right.
kids. No one wants, Luke Skywalker has the laser sword. Everyone wanted to be Han Solo with a laser
Yeah,
sword.
he's also, even though he has a crush on Leia, he's very like little brother puppy dog about it. I mean, obviously we know that he's her brother now, but at the time you didn't. And watching it in that vein, it's like, why the fuck would she ever go for him?
She was just making Han jealous.
Well, but I loved that moment where Han made him jealous. Like, she wasn't even around, and he could tell that Luke liked Leia, and he tried to be like, so, you think a guy like me and a girl like her could ever? And he's like, no way. But he's such a baby.
It's really funny to me at the part where, as far as the dryness that I was talking about.
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker walks up to the burned corpses of the people who raised him. And you would think that might emote something deeper than just like a looking away slightly. But this might also explain why Mark Hamill didn't really get a lot of leading roles thrown at him outside of Star Wars. And also, Princess Leia, she watches her planet get destroyed on screen. And she's just like,
Continue with the operation. You may fire when ready.
What?
You're far too trusty. Dantooine is too remote to make an effective demonstration, but don't worry. We will deal with your rebel friends soon enough.
She does lunge before it happens.
no, she doesn't.
No? I thought there was like a no kind of thing.
It was the most half-assed lunge. I know the odds are not in her favor, but they're about to blow up your planet. It's like your life or the planet.
I know.
Like,
her family is there.
You gotta drag up that like deep-rooted strength. They'll probably kill you, but Jesus, I wouldn't just stand there while you blow up my fucking planet. And again, the mass death, the mass destruction that goes on, it's just very much glossed over. Granted, maybe they don't have a lot of time to think about it. Maybe we need a very long-winded story between these where they just deal with their post-traumatic stress of watching their planet and relatives get killed. It's good to see a non-CGI Peter Cushing.
Yes.
Princess Leia, before your execution, I would like you to be my guest at a ceremony that will make this battle station operational. No star system will dare oppose the Emperor now.
The more you tighten your grip, Tarkin, the more star systems will slip through your fingers.
Not after we demonstrate the power of this station. In a way, you have determined the choice of the planet that'll be destroyed first.
He's kind of the big bad here. He's telling Darth Vader what to do.
Yeah, Darth Vader was very not the man in charge in this.
Well,
and
he's not ever. It's not if it's not
Emperor.
Tarkin, it's the Emperor.
Well, yeah, but I guess, and obviously Tarkin is doing the Emperor's bidding in this, but we don't see the Emperor in this at all. The weirdest thing to me watching this was it felt like it went by very quickly because in my mind, they're all like one big clump of a story.
Well, this one feels the most stripped down into like an essential core, a very basic journey. It's very easy to latch onto the characters, onto the adventure, onto the fun. It feels more casual and refreshing than literally everything we saw up to this point.
1,000.
Because everything is trying to pay some kind of lip service to every throwaway line, what used to be a throwaway line throughout these trilogies.
Yeah.
And everything is constantly just trying to pay a fan service or just try to add to the layers, in which literally all of it just feels completely convoluted, even the better ones that we like.
Yeah, it definitely feels as though even for Lucas, it became all too precious. Like, this was very, the first one, he had, Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford are great in this. I love him especially. He's the one that's like the coolest.
He's got the swag.
But it comes through to a point where that he, I can only imagine that there was a little bit of kind of letting them do their own thing. And it feels as though by the time Lucas is making episode 1, that it's all so controlled that I wouldn't even be surprised if he's not giving them line readings. Like, this is exactly how you're supposed to look right now and what you're supposed to do. And it's really just who looks enough the part. And watching the first 3, I kept thinking Anakin doesn't look like Luke at all. But then watching this episode, I could see it. I could see Luke as Anakin's son, and maybe it was also the whininess, but there was a
personality.
Personality. There was kind of like a through line.
We're watching the pre-remastered cut, so Han shoots first when Greedo meets him. So yes, and Han shoots first in ours, and I feel like it makes sense. It makes Han more dangerous, calloused, and kind of gives him something to overcome and bring into the heroism. We saw in Solo, but Solo just felt like Solo is the amount of times I will watch that movie.
I had forgotten about the whole like Han shoots first or does he or whatever. But in watching this, truly it looked as though he just shot him. But it made sense because he's literally being threatened. He's going to be murdered if he doesn't kill this guy. And he's in a lawless place. Why not kill him? I don't even know why that was ever a thing that mattered.
It even looks bad how they remake it. They have a still of Han, and then it makes it look like a blast just narrowly misses his head.
But that like doesn't even
after he
happen.
doesn't even move. But no, it's just a big spark burst.
Why?
And he's dead in the Mos Eisley Cantina. Well, C-3PO and R2-D2, yeah, I can't help it. I kind of like him. I don't care. And to see, of course, C-3PO, and we didn't mention, I don't think we mentioned it, but at the end of Revenge of the Sith, they throw out the line to wipe C-3PO. So he's ending up on an eject pod, and which was really funny because the Imperials storm this ship, and a guy sees a pod eject, and he goes, it registers no life forms, and we're like, you live in a world with droids.
And this is a ship that has sensitive information that you're trying to get back at all costs. Why wouldn't you think
no one's
going to
hold more information than a droid?
And it's like beats later when someone finally goes to Vader and says, "Oh yeah, Lord Vader, there was a pod, but no one was on it." And he's like, "You idiot!"
Yeah, they figured it out real quick.
Send people down to the surface that obviously had the stuff in it. But it's weird to me because in my memory, they belonged to Leia, but they don't. Like, she sent them, like, she put the message and the plans in R2-D2.
Leia is their current master.
Well, they said they were under someone like Antilles or something. That's not the name, but they named someone
Wedge
that they
Antilles.
belonged to.
R2... Sorry, I'm going to get a little nerdy because I do
that's fine. I want you to because I was confused.
R2 was, I think he was the ship droid for Wedge Antilles, who's in the Rogue Squadron. They're doing the flying thing and the Death Star at the end. The only two people that are still alive are Luke Skywalker and Wedge Antilles. Everyone dies in the
Rogue. He's the one that goes off because Luke's like, get out of here.
He's actually kind of like, other than the core cast, he is like the other main rebellion character. And he's kind of more known and expounded upon in like the nerd culture, kind of the same way Boba Fett was, because you don't really get much on Boba Fett in the trilogy either, but Wedge is like a bigger deal in the whole rebellion thing.
He also has a very brilliant 70s mustache.
I don't think he had the mustache.
Did he not? Why in my mind does he? Anyway.
You're just getting your Rogue Squadron confused.
Sure, I must be. But I liked the mustaches, just saying.
Should be more. The mustaches are back, so we can have more Rogue Squadron mustache and get a guy that's twice as fat as Porkins in there.
Cover me, Porkins. I'm right with you, Red 3.
Rest in peace, Porkins.
I've got a problem here. Eject! I can hold it. No, I'm all right.
It's weird to realize that C-3PO does not remember his history.
Right, he's gone home and he doesn't even know.
But theoretically, R2-D2 does. Because we don't know that he got wiped.
Based on the continuity as we understand it.
It wasn't expressly said.
R2-D2 knows everything.
Weirdest part, though, is that, well, first of all, Obi-Wan Kenobi is hiding out on Tatooine, going by the name Ben Kenobi. It was just weird. Like, that, change your last name.
Like, yeah, you're the worst
Be
spy.
like Obi-Wan Carter. I don't know, but why? But he also acted as though he didn't know the droids, which was weird to me.
I guess you could say that everything is so connected to Luke's father that Obi-Wan's just going to leave out a lot of details just to protect the kid.
He does lie to Luke a lot about his dad.
But
they tell him his dad's dead. They tell him his dad wanted him to have his lightsaber. His dad doesn't even know he was born.
But everyone seems to understand what R2 is saying except the audience watching the movie. So R2 is choosing not to give out a lot of information here. What is this little droid's motivation? I don't know. We know C-3PO's trip, but if everyone understands R2, then R2 is just choosing to just be quiet about it.
I guess I never thought of it in that way. I know they talk to R2, but because C-3PO basically translates for him for us, I guess I just always assumed he was translating for him for everyone, but that wouldn't make any sense. Like, you have to understand your droid if it's going to work for you.
So Uncle Owen buys these droids from the Jawas who kidnap them.
It is literally all circumstantial, but then you would say it's the Force.
Sure, why not? It's always the Force. And
yeah.
And so they've got a message that's got to get to Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Luke is like straight up bitching this whole. He wants to leave this town.
And then as soon as Obi-Wan's like, go with me, he's like, I can't.
I think Luke was happy that his parents died. I think he was secretly
They were
happy.
holding him back.
He was like, time to go. I don't even think he looked through the wreckage.
Well, it didn't show him. You said he looked at his dead. No, he just looked at some smoke coming out of the building. And then the next thing we see, he's back at Obi-Wan Kenobi. And he looks
there was a
like,
skeleton charred up.
Oh, was there?
Yeah.
I missed it. He looked a little upset, but he definitely wasn't like crying, which he should have been. And he just was like, I want to go with you. I want to become a Jedi.
So he does find Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they all are hanging out, and R2 gives the message from Princess Leia, "You're our only hope," and then Obi-Wan is like, "I got to train you to be a Jedi, Luke." And I remember in the prequels, like Anakin was 8 years old, and Yoda was like,
too old.
I
know. I kept thinking about that.
Too old he is. Now this kid is 19 years old.
This guy's like 15 years too old.
We maybe get a scene, 2 scenes of proper training, very briefly. And then a lot of it is just like, use your feelings, Luke. Use the Force.
In retrospect, it makes no sense that he hasn't been training him this entire time. He should have been his Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
Who he goes and hangs out with after school every day.
His rice is he's got great rice. You probably
The fuck are you doing?
How do you not know this is coming?
Literally, Yoda said, we're going to go into hiding until it's time. Go watch the boy.
He's just been stalking him. He's just been an old man that hangs out with like a child.
Also,
that isn't his.
I did not remember that he's only in this movie. He's such a bigger presence to me. And I know he talks to Luke, like he can communicate with Luke the way that they kind of hinted to the like Obi-Wan would be able to talk to Qui-Gon. But it's just so weird to me to remember that this is when he's already gone.
Yeah.
How is he supposed to learn the Force? He doesn't have a teacher. I know he has to go find Yoda, but like...
Well, I guess he's like the new chosen one, I suppose.
I mean,
right?
Yeah, he is.
Sure.
His midichlorians are off the chain, I'm sure. But we wouldn't know that because they don't know what those are.
What have Obi-Wan and Luke been doing his whole life?
Nothing. He literally
Just
was like...
hanging out on the rocks?
No, because Luke truly was like, maybe it's that old Ben guy. He's like a hermit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, he knew where to find him, but he didn't know him.
He keeps wanting to show me his baseball cards, you know? He keeps trying to get me to go in this van.
Oh, no.
It's like, don't talk to the wizard. Don't talk to the wizard, man. Luke's family's dead, so they all gotta go and get a ride. So that's when they hook up with Han Solo and Chewbacca. Mm-hmm. And they shoot their way out, and they get up into space.
And the Millennium Falcon looked so much smaller in this movie.
When you first see it, it looks actually pretty tiny.
I love it. I love it, though. And I'm so glad that we watched it the way that we did, because, you know, there's the point where they have to hide in the ship, and they truly are hiding in, like, the hidey holes that they referenced in the Solo movie. That's like where they hid the stuff that was going to explode.
Sure.
The explodium or whatever.
If you're paying attention to that, I mean, that's why they make all those movies.
But I really did appreciate that.
This is the part where we meet Grand Moff Tarkin, and we met Vader before, and they've got Leia, and they're like, tell us where the secret rebel base is.
She lies.
And she lies, and they blow up her planet anyway. And
they were gonna.
I mean, this movie is like the foundation for blockbuster franchises from here on forth. And the dryness of watching someone like not be that emotive watching their literal planet blow up. It does make me think of like all the big budget superhero kind of stuff that is just so dry, in which it's all like this disaster porn, but no emotional weight to it really whatsoever.
And a beat later, when they're coming to rescue her, she's like quipping.
Oh, she's quipping hard.
Hard. Immediately ragging on these dudes, like making fun of Han Solo. Like, well, I'm going to have to save us because you guys obviously don't know what you're doing. And it's like, are you not even crying a little bit? Your grandma was probably down there.
A very notable early take action female type as well in movies.
Can't hold off forever. Now what?
This is some rescue. You came in here, didn't you have a plan for getting out?
He's the brains. We are. What the hell are you doing?
Somebody has to save our skins.
When people complain about movies being woke, like if this came out today, that little line of Leia's being like,
somebody has to save our skins.
It's like such a dusty ass argument anyway.
Yeah, it totally is.
And you can see contradictions in it. I think.
But the most popular image of her is in her bikini.
That's true. This is still being sold to boys going through puberty. I'm just not against it. That's all I'm saying.
I guess I'm not against it either. I'm just saying.
Can't she be strong in a slave bikini?
Yes, she is.
Actually, she's a slave in that moment. But
she's a slave, but she gets out.
She does get rescued later.
And she's still sassy.
Alderaan is gone, and they're approaching a moon, but that's no moon. And so we get adventure romps all over the Death Star.
Situation normal.
What happened?
Had a slight weapons malfunction, but everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
We're sending a squad up.
Negative. We have a reactor leak here now. Give us a few minutes to lock it down. Large leak, very dangerous.
Who is this? What's your operating number?
Ending up in trash compactors, R2 having to hack into the mainframes to get people from A to B, and Obi-Wan is just wandering around the whole thing while Darth Vader's trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. But he senses his old master. He does.
The first time he's felt the Force since the last time he was with his master.
We get to the end of the adventure, essentially. Leia does get rescued and shit, and we get the Obi-Wan Kenobi Darth Vader fight, which looks like if two old men were fighting with broomsticks.
Which is what was happening.
They look like, we just watched the prequels where Yoda's doing these fucking flips. Christopher Lee, an old man, they still made him look like he could hold his own. And this isn't like going to affect my rating or anything. I understand the era and that this is the first one, but it's just so funny to me that I was just like, like they look like they were both just really tired.
Yeah.
And then Obi-Wan doesn't get killed. He just wills himself into the Force. He like smiles and then it's like, he's gone.
Yeah, he says to Darth Vader, if you strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you could ever imagine. And we know now it's because now he's just like in Luke's head.
Yeah.
He's just like a ghost man hovering around Luke. But yeah, it's good. He disappears.
Luke's like, no! I love when Vader's like kicking the ropes with his feet. Like, what's going on? He's like,
where is he? Where'd he go?
They get away, but they've got the plans, like in Rogue One, to blow up the Death Star. And long story short, the Rogue Squadron scene, it is a cool scene, but everyone dies.
Came from behind.
Except Luke and Wedge, and Luke turns off his navigation shit, and Darth Vader, he does get out there on his ship and kills a lot of the squad.
He is in a fighter.
Yeah.
That's why he lives.
But then the Millennium Falcon, because you think Han's just fucking off, but he likes that princess, so he comes back and makes the save.
And he likes the kid.
And Vader doesn't get killed, but like his ship gets wrecked and he gets thrown off into space, and Luke, with the power of the Force, blasts. The energy goes down into the engine, and the Death Star gets blasted. Though, in the next movie, it's like half blasted, right? It's
yeah,
like,
I think so.
I guess enough of it's still there, but maybe I can't remember if they kill any more planets. Maybe not. I think there's a second Death Star, too.
Yes, I think so, too.
They really churn out the planet-sized threats. Even in the new trilogy, it's like,
oh, yeah.
Do we have to do that again, I guess? Whatever, but we'll get to that.
What what is more destructive.
But look, this is a classic movie. I think it executes so much. The feeling of it is so much smoother. It goes down easier. It's the core of it all. Mm-hmm. And I think there is a magic here. But I do see the outlines of a lot of things that this inspired that I hate. Right. Maybe hate's a strong word because I was very positive to like Avatar, which... Mm-hmm. had a lot of the under the surface themes that this one has. I think I pulled an interview from James Cameron talking to George Lucas where they're talking about what inspired their original movies. Wow. And you get the feeling that James Cameron is just a lot more connected to that still. He's still hanging on to it in a big way, which is kind of what I like about Cameron. Yeah. I think George is funny. Like, he's just a funny guy to me. And I do respect what he made. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, this wrought a lot of shit at the same time. And the dryness of Star Wars was always there at the very beginning. And Alec Guinness he was not very kind in interviews to this movie. He thought this was just Lucas is bringing out all these, like, classically trained Shakespearean British actors to come in and do his movies, which is super smart because they have presence and they look great. Like, we love these guys. We love these guys. We love Peter Cushing. Absolutely. We love Alec Guinness. But a lot of them in interviews just don't take it very seriously. Like, the fans are like losing their fucking mind. And to Alec Guinness, it was like, I was just playing dress up. Out in the fucking desert. It was hot. This is stupid. There's like a little robot walking around. He was not watching all the like 50s sci-fi that George Lucas came up. I was gonna say,
I mean, the only thing to compare this to before that is like terrible television shows. Right. You know, there wasn't really... When did Star Trek start?
In the 60s.
Okay, I thought so, but it's still not the same.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, it's all television. This was like a new genre.
There was science fiction. Yeah, a television definitely... You know, with your Robbie the robots and shit, that's a line into these droids. But television and movies, Lucas did pull a lot of from his childhood. Yeah. Like, the opening scroll is from, like, movie serials. From, like, I think Buck Rogers. Like, the way the scroll, Buck Rogers. Can see those. And all that came into a property that people lost their fucking minds over. Yeah, you're bored. I get it. Star Wars from 1977. We're going to close it out. And you're going to give it 1 through 5. I'm going to give it 1 through 5 combined for best out of 10. Oh. Basically orbiting around a 4.
Mm-hmm, same.
In terms of just the pure enjoyability of the story, I think there are like these typical goofy Star Wars flaws that will never go away. I do think it's a solid 4 adventure romp, but I'm going to go up a 0.25 because you got to give credit to the foundational aspects
Absolutely.
Of it, good or bad. The influence has to mean something here as we look back and put all these together. Once again, what do you give it?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
4.25?
Yeah, I'm going to match you.
Cool. Right at 8.5, our highest of the month so far. Maybe one other will be this high, but I don't think there will be many that are I don't think any is going to go past an 8 once we get past the original trilogy.
I think there's potential in the original trilogy.
And look, I got Star Wars fatigue just like everyone else. We're never going to watch these fucking movies again. The best ones we've already seen 100 times, but you can't deny the fun romp of the original 1977 Star Wars. So that's where it sits between Nightcrawler and The Big Sleep.
Love it. I love it.
It's at least as good as those, if not better. Whatever you think about it is whatever. Actually, no. Our what we think about it
is all that matters.
For Star Wars movies is what has to be your new opinion now. So so I don't even want to hear what you think about anything unless it's parroting everything I said word for word back to me. That's what I'm looking for. Check the show notes for links and other places to find us. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. We enjoy that. We appreciate that. We appreciate you. Let's get out of here.
Jar Jar is the key to all of this.
He is.